The birth of Judaism occurred in Judea. That's where it occurred. And they're supposed to give that, pretend it's the West Bank of Jordan, and give it to the Palestinians who came up with that name. These are Arabs who lived in Jordan, who came up with the name Palestinians in 1965 after Arafat thought it would be a great idea to give it a big biblical connotation. You won't find these Palestinians anywhere in anybody's Bible because they didn't exist. There is no West Bank. West Bank of what? West Bank of Jordan. In 1948, when war broke out, when the British divided up, with the support of the United Nations, the Middle East, before that the Ottomans divided it up. Anyway, it created this very small area for the Jews. And much of what you see in the Middle East was created either by the Ottoman Empire or the British. There was no Saudi Arabia 500 years ago, 200 years ago. None. There was no Kuwait. There was no king of Jordan. These are all make-believe. There was no UAE. There was no Qatar and Bahrain. The British wanted to get the hell out of there, so they give them to these fiefdoms and to these various Arab groups or Arab ethnicities, Bedouins, most of which have nothing in common other than their faith, and even on that they fight and kill with each other. Judea and Samaria are not the West Bank of Jordan. I'll put it this way, they're the East Bank of Israel. The state of Israel, the formalized state of Israel with boundaries, was founded in 1948. The territory even beyond the current state of Israel was always, or at least at the very beginning of human settlement of that area, Jewish. How many Jews are in these Arab countries? Almost none. How many Christians are in most of these Arab countries? And yet, this is the birthplace of Christianity, and Jesus as well. Almost none. So the Arabs and the Muslims claim it's all theirs. Judea and Samaria, which are in the Bible, the Old Testament, many Christians call it the Torah, many Jews call it. Judea and Samaria. The West Bank. So he asks her, you know, you've got these two right-wing members, or one no longer, of the Netanyahu government. They talk about the biblical rights to the West Bank. They talk about the biblical right to Judea and Samaria. Folks, this is the heart of Judaism. Judea and Samaria, and of course now Jerusalem. The birth of Judaism occurred in Judea. That's where it occurred. And they're supposed to give that, pretend it's the West Bank of Jordan, and give it to the Palestinians who came up with that name. These are Arabs who lived in Jordan, who came up with the name Palestinians in 1965 after Arafat thought it would be a great idea to give it a big biblical connotation. You won't find these Palestinians anywhere in anybody's Bible because they didn't exist. And so when you have a United States Senator like this from Maryland, a Democrat Islamist, do you agree with these ministers and the Netanyahu government that the Israelis have a biblical claim to the West Bank? The way he asks the question demonstrates the hostility he has to the state of Israel and the Jewish people. There's not another people on the face of the earth, certainly not minority people, where their indigenous homelands are called somebody else's West Bank or East Bank, or where the people who live there and want to further populate it are called settlers. Are the Native Americans settlers in their own land in this country? Of course not. Are the Native Alaskans, what we used to call Eskimos, are they settlers in Alaska? Of course not. But the Jews in Judea and Samaria, settlers, and we got to continue to negotiate limits to how much they can settle in their own land. This is the idiocy that's taking place.